What is good? Cole here on the Cole Portal with my very first video in the year 2020 and my very first video of the new decade, the 2020s. In this video, I'm just going to go over essentially my four favorite movies of this past decade, the 2010s. These movies, in terms of release date, extend from 2013 to 2018. So the first movie on my list is Ready Player One. This movie came out in March of 2018. I saw it with some friends at the IMAX, and it was just, in terms of 2010s pop culture, I think that this movie really represented what this decade is about and showing probably what is the likely evolution of virtual reality. I remember when I went to the theater, they had a ton of Ready Player One posters lined up on the tables outside of the IMAX, and I picked up a few of them. But it was just a memorable experience and a fantastic, fantastic movie that really just has 2010s pop culture. Next, the 2013, 2014, I guess, depending on how you look at it, because it actually came out in 2013, but it was in most theaters in the beginning of 2014. 2013-2014 movie, Her. Her, just made by Spike Jonze. It has Joaquin Phoenix, and it's a completely fantastic movie. It takes place in the distant future, mid-2020s, and it revolves around Theodore Twombly, who essentially falls in love with his computer, his OS, Samantha. And I watched this movie. I'd always contemplated watching it, but I watched it this August, and it was a Friday night, and it was a very, very memorable viewing experience, and I really enjoyed it. So the movie Her is on our list of the best movies of 2010s. Next is Boyhood. I remember when this came out, and when people were hyping this up, and it was getting awards before it released, because there was no movie like it. And this came out in 2014, summer of 2014. If no, but the really innovative thing about Boyhood is that we're seeing this child, this boy, we're seeing his life progress over a 12-year period, a 12-year duration. We're seeing him mature from the ages of 6 to 18, and he's graduating high school at that point. And it's got some familiar faces: Patricia Arquette, Ethan Hawke. The movie's about 3 hours. I also saw this year, and I thought this was a completely fantastic movie. The music choices, like somebody that I used to know, there's a lot of great music. And I think as well, when it comes to pop culture, this is something that's really representative of the 2010s. And finally, our last movie is the 2017 movie Downsizing with Matt Damon. I went to see this at an art theater on Christmas Day. And I went to a mall, and the mall was pretty dead. I mean, all the stores were closed except for the art theater. And I can tell you that I think that Ready Player One and Downsizing are the two best cinematic viewing experiences in a theater I've ever had. The premise of Downsizing, which is essentially Matt Damon is turned into a tinier person through this corporation, and then they have like tiny establishments, and they have like this sphere type thing where all the tiny people live, and it simulates weather and stuff. The idea was just so cool. And I just found myself immersed in the world, and especially I remember there was one part where Matt Damon visits this woman at this hotel, and just the art of it and everything was completely beautiful. So those are my four favorite movies of the 2010s: Ready Player One, Her, Boyhood, and Downsizing, in no particular order. And I'm going to add this on too real quick because it definitely needs to be mentioned. I think there's no doubt about this. You guys know this by how I've talked about Mario Galaxy 3 so much. My favorite game of the 2010s decade was Super Mario Galaxy 2. So this was my video, 4 favorite movies of the 2010s, and my favorite video game of the 2010s, Mario Galaxy 2. Next time, I'm going to be talking about the events that are taking place in 2020 and the events that will take place in the complete decade of the 2020s.